Hey everybody, Tim here with today's review of James Bond, Never Say Never Again. So this is kind of an unofficial Bond movie because it was not produced by Eon Productions. So it's not considered like part of the continuity. It's its own movie. Like if you look at the official timeline, Sean Connery has only done 6 movies, but this would be considered the 7th. So, and that it gets all into like a bunch of courtroom drama and all sorts of stuff, which that's the whole reason they had to stop using Spectre and Blofeld and stuff like that after a certain amount of time. And then just recently they started getting all of that back. But because this is not an Eon Productions, Blofeld is in it, Spectre's brought up, stuff like that. Overall, I would say it was a pretty good movie. So this came out in 1983, 21 years after Sean Connery made the debut in Dr. No. So it's been a long time. And after they switched to Roger Moore, something I always forget about, Roger Moore is older than Sean Connery. So him doing this, let's say Sean Connery had never stopped and he had just kept doing it the whole time, like he would still be younger than Roger Moore is when his movie came out the same year. So I think that's kind of interesting. Because he did stop, it has been 12 years since Sean Connery's last Bond movie, and overall, I would say it was good. This is a remake of Thunderball, which is kind of weird because that was one of Sean Connery's James Bond movies, so he's remaking his own movie, which is kind of weird. But what I like is, even though Roger Moore's older, in the official continuity and stuff, he's still like an active agent, whereas in this movie they specifically bring up like how old he is and how out of shape he is and stuff like that. So in the very beginning, like, he's doing these war games and they're like, you died twice, and he's like, that's pretty good. And so M orders him to basically go to like this clinic to basically like get a good workout and get the free radicals out of his system and like lose weight and stuff like that. So M is a brand new character actor. Miss Moneypenny makes an appearance. I'm totally against anybody who is not Lois Maxwell, so as soon as she came in, I was like, nope, I don't like her. And she was kind of ditzy, like she wasn't that intelligent figure that Lois Maxwell is. We see one of the first characters has like an eye transplant, and so his eye is the exact same. It's supposed to be the exact same as the president's, so he can sneak through like retinal figures and stuff like that, and it's kind of interesting. Now, I hated Thunderball. If you guys haven't seen the review that I did for that one, like, I hated the scene with the chiropractor so much that I almost stopped watching it. It made me really uncomfortable to watch James Bond and that chiropractor woman have their interaction. Absolutely hated it. This one I feel like was handled a lot better, where she's like putting him in his place, where she's like popping his back, and he's uncomfortable and he's in pain and stuff. They do end up hooking up, but she's much more receptive of it this time. She's not telling him no, and he's forcing himself upon her. So I feel like that scene was handled much better. That alone makes me like this movie more. The whole scene where like he is just getting his ass kicked by this character was super intense, and they're just like going from room to room to room, and it kind of and he's not wearing a suit or anything. He's just wearing like sweatpants and stuff like that, and like where he's like doing the free weights and he's like choking him, and it kind of shows like how out of shape James Bond is because he's over 50 at this point. He is retired. Let's see, he does finally, when he goes back to M, and M is like, I sent you there to get in shape, and you destroyed the building. He's like, well, I lost 4 pounds. It was kind of funny. I did like that scene. Again, kind of the same with Lois Maxwell. I didn't like Q in this movie because it wasn't Llewellyn, and I think he was Australian or something. It was really awkward. Smallfoot makes an appearance of British intelligence, and it is Rowan Atkinson's first movie, which is awesome. Like Mr. Bean and Zazu and stuff like that. He's a great actor, and like he does like a weird accent. He had done other acting in TV shows and stuff like that before, but this is his first actual theatrical movie, so I thought that was kind of cool. I hated the scene where he dropped the mast on the shark because I was just like, oh, this poor shark. It was really sad. The hotel explosion was great. We see Felix again, which was kind of cool. Bond giving Domino a back massage, and it was Kim Basinger, so that was kind of interesting. But that was kind of fun scene where he like kind of goes undercover, and again, it kind of shows how out of shape he is. The video game scene I really liked. it's kind of a product of its time, 1983, all that jazz. But we've seen them play cards so much. And again, in the Thunderball review, like that scene was so bad where he's like, I have the specter of victory and you have the specter of death. And he just keeps saying specter over and over and over again to make the guy uncomfortable. Whereas in this one, like they just play this weird video game where like Bond keeps getting electrocuted. But overall, it was kind of fun. The motorcycle chase was kind of different because we hadn't really seen that. Where he actually blows up the blush woman was a little bit intense. Like, I kind of thought that was interesting. I'm surprised they had the scene where the horse jumps off the ledge because I don't think you could do that today without it just being like really computer graphic horse-like. The pendant that Domino had was the map was kind of interesting. Like, I didn't 100% see that right away, so I like that. In the Thunderball movie, in the beginning of the movie, I had commented on how cheesy it was to watch him do like the jetpack thing to get away from the guys. In this movie, it's at the end, but it was done a little bit better. It was kind of cool, where we see the missile come out of a submarine, and then it breaks apart, and then he's on the jetpack. And I was like, that's kind of interesting. Still not really needed. Him pushing the head off the statue was fun. And then basically it kind of sums it all up really quickly, where he defeats Largo, they get the missiles, everybody is happy at the end. I do like the scene where like she says like, oh, you're never going to change your ways. Well, never say never. And that's the title because Sean Connery retired from James Bond, but then came back. And then he retired again from James Bond. And then he made this movie. So, I mean, it's kind of a point to say, like, never say never is the whole point of Sean Connery coming back. It's kind of went up against a different Bond movie. So this came out the same year as Octopussy, and that movie actually won. If you look at like rankings and stuff like that, or how much money they made, Octopussy did win, which I'm kind of surprised. I figured people would have gone for Sean Connery, but Roger Moore had been doing it for the last 10 years, so it kind of makes sense. So overall, I'll do real quick, I'll just give you my 7 Sean Connery movies in order, just kind of my opinion. I'll also include it in the listing. My favorite, so from the best to the worst, I would say is Goldfinger, Diamonds Are Forever, Dr. No, You Only Live Twice, Never Say Never Again, then Thunderball, and then I just absolutely hated From Russia with Love. But those are the 7 Sean Connery movies. I liked it. I thought it was better than Thunderball, but this one was still really slow. The beginning was good, the ending was good, the whole middle, I just wasn't feeling it. So for those who have seen it, go ahead, let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys for everything, and I will see you guys next time for Roger Moore's last James Bond outing, A View to a Kill.